In a year where a team like the Capitals are rolling and have been a massive surprise, on the flip side, no team has been a bigger disappointment than the Nashville Predators.
I don't think I've ever been a part of a group where you literally can't score goals.
They made a big splash in the offseason, signing Brady, Skjei, Jonathan Marchessault, and the big fish Steven Stamkos, spending over $108 million. They were a legitimate Stanley Cup contender coming into the season, but through 20 games, they found themselves dead last at 6-11-3 to start, and as the season has continued, it has felt like a never-ending nightmare. Coming into last night's matchup against the reigning champs, the Florida Panthers, they were 29-7 and found themselves still stapled to the bottom among the worst teams in the league, but yet they may have just somehow hit a new low. Let's do a quick recap of last night's game first because it went, well, terribly. Took a penalty immediately as you almost can't make it up. McCarron sailing one over the glass, down a man right out of the gate as the Panthers took advantage. Saros with no chance, and they were down 1 before you could get through a U2 song. That deficit turned to 2 in the second. Sordiff with his first, but worse than that, they then lost their captain, Roman Josi. After a hit from behind as Sam Bennett with the arm up crunched him awkwardly into the boards, Josi, who stayed out for that power play, did not play another shift in this game. Over in the third, McCarron did finally score in the opening 5 minutes of the period to get him on the board, but immediately taking their 5th penalty of the game, they'd lose momentum and the Panthers would respond not 5 minutes later. They regained the 2-goal lead, and then while this, their 4th of the night, was taken off the board for goalie interference, it took just a minute for the Panthers to end up scoring again anyway. Another defensive breakdown to make it 4-1, as that would be the final score of this game, with the Predators losing their 8th in 10 games, in what also marked the 8th time in those last 10 games that they've scored 2 or less goals. And look at some of these teams: Anaheim, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Chicago. They beat Colorado, which is interesting, but yeah, another tough loss. After which is where we got Luke Schenn saying this:
I don't think I've ever been a part of a group where you literally can't score goals.
And in other words,
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
Now keep in mind, this is the same player that played on Vancouver in the Travis Green era, the same player on the Dave Tippett rebuild with the Coyotes. That is a big statement, and he's not really wrong. They caught a post in the first, had some great chances, but while it's hard to pinpoint exactly what is wrong with this team, clearly the offense has been a major issue. They are 30th in the league in goals at 2.59 a game, and again, that's with guys like Jonathan Marchessault, Philip Forsberg, and Steven Stamkos, who, by the way, hasn't scored a point in 10 games. That's the worst streak of his career. Forsberg has 0 in 6 games, and if you look at their point leaders, 4 of the top 6 are 34 or older, and all are at least 30. Things are a disaster in Nashville, and there's been rumblings of moving Schenn before the trade deadline, which he may have sped that up here, but they've already lost Lozon for the season. They lost Willsby for the season. If Roman Josi was now out for any period of time, and they move on from Schenn, that back end is a disaster. So with all the money they've spent, all the chemistry they lack, it is hard to call this team anything but a dumpster fire. That's about it for this one, though. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.